Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be examining price controls. The first price control we are going to look at would be a price floor. And a price floor occurs above the equilibrium point. So if this were our equilibrium point here, Q0, P0, and we have our equilibrium here, our price floor will occur above this point. So we can call this P1. So notice it is above the equilibrium. So what is a price floor? A price floor is basically the minimum price that would be charged for a particular good or service. And let's see what happens when we have a price floor. When you have a price floor, let's see what happens with quantity demanded and quantity supplied. When you have a price floor, this would be our quantity demanded. We can call this Q1, and our quantity supplied, we can call this Q2. And so our quantity supplied is greater than quantity demanded, and we would have a surplus. So an example of a price floor would be minimum wage. Minimum wage is the lowest price for labor that can be charged. So let's look at this situation. There might be persons who would be willing to work for a wage lower than the minimum wage, and there might be firms willing to pay persons that, but the government would intervene to have this minimum wage or this price floor to prevent persons from being exploited, so that they will have a basic standard of living, even though they might be willing to work for less. But what happens when we have this minimum wage? Yes, persons will be earning a higher income, but the trade-off for that is that it can lead to unemployment, because it means that the supply of labor would be greater than the demand for labor, and so this excess supply of labor, meaning more persons are willing to work or to supply labor, would be greater than firms demanding it. This is what will happen. This excess supply will now lead to unemployment, and that's why you would find governments being reluctant to increase the minimum wage very often, because even though they increase the minimum wage and you think persons would get a higher standard of living, the trade-off is that it can increase unemployment levels within the economy. The second price control that we're going to look at would be price ceilings. And a price ceiling occurs below the equilibrium point. So again, if you have an equilibrium situation such as P0, Q0, our price ceiling will occur below the equilibrium point. Right, we can call this one P2, and so our quantity supplied, we can call this Q1, and quantity demanded Q2. Notice what happens in this diagram. Our quantity demanded is greater than our quantity supplied, and so we have excess demand or a shortage. Now, why would the government need to intervene to have a price ceiling? They would usually intervene to have a price ceiling in goods and services like basic food items or even rent. That is to make sure again that persons can access basic goods and services so that they maintain a certain standard of living. Because if it was being sold at the market price, some persons may not be able to access these goods or services. So you would find then that the government would intervene to have this price ceiling. But sometimes it leads to a black market situation whereby you're seeing the quantity demanded is being greater than the quantity supplied, and so persons may be willing to purchase the item at a higher price because of the shortage. And we could think about this situation in terms of our fete tickets for Carnival. When we have fetes, there will be an official price which would come like our P2 price here. But we all know as it comes closer to the day of the fete, or even on the day of the fete itself, some persons become so desperate to come to this fete that the demand, or the quantity demanded rather, exceeds the quantity supplied, and so persons would be willing to pay a price higher than the official price, so what the actual market demand and supply for those fete tickets are. And so that's why you would see we have scalpers and touts outside of fetes selling these tickets at exorbitant prices because they are now selling at the market price. So you'd find when we have price ceilings, it would lead to black market situations because persons are willing to pay a higher price because of this shortage. I am Miss Lushu. I make economics videos. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and remember to hit the notification bell.